wrestling is tougher and it's the harder path, but I think I could be pretty good if I actually did that. So let me see what my options are. And if any of them are compelling, like maybe I just do the hard thing instead and go that route. So I had my coach reach out to a small group of schools that I wasn't getting recruited to for football that I thought would be interesting. Northwestern, Michigan, and Stanford. And Northwestern was the first one to respond and wanted me to visit immediately. And I really enjoyed my time out there and liked the guys and stuff. And thought it was a really cool, different experience. I'd never been to the Midwest. I'd never been outside of the Eastern time zone. So, yeah, I thought it was like a really good situation. And it turns out it was a great decision.
Mike McMullan was on the doorstep of playing football for Harvard. Thankfully for Northwestern and wrestling fans, he chose wrestling. The number one ranked heavyweight recruit in the class of 2010, Mike was a two-time national prep champion. As a Wildcat, he would go down as one of the greats. A four-time All-American and national finalist, Mike never finished lower than third at the national tournament. I'm Kelby Bachman, and this is Let's Talk Wrestling. In the heart of West Union, Iowa, lies a hidden gem in Euphoria Coffee. Owned by local residents Nicole and Shane Havenstreit, they source everything they can from local vendors. From hot and iced drinks, to savory breakfast burritos, to baked goods, to botany tea, and even homemade waffles, Euphoria Coffee is a place your entire family can enjoy. You can find more information at drinkeuphoria.coffee2go.com or visit their Facebook page. And we also have a special gift just for you. Next time you stop in, you can get a free baked good with a $20 purchase. Just mention the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. Euphoria Coffee. Our purpose is deeper than coffee. Where are
Yeah.
you at?
So I live in the Philadelphia suburbs
Cool. Okay.
out in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So I'm
How
from
long you
Pennsylvania originally.
Okay. How long you been there?
I moved back here in 2021.
Okay.
So 5 years.
Was that always kind of the plan? Was to maybe, or did it just so happen that you wound up back in Pennsylvania?
So I moved back here post college and started grad school and coaching at Penn. Met my wife back then, and she's from the Philadelphia suburbs. So we're both from Pennsylvania. I think ultimately we wanted to end up back here.
Yeah.
And COVID was a great accelerant in that way, where the flexibility of remote work let me move back here faster and been
Mhm.
able to stay here ever since. So.
Gotcha. So you went to Penn and you went to grad school at Penn.
Yeah, so I did a
Ah,
graduate degree in public policy in their government school, which was really cool. Well, I did that while I was coaching there.
yeah. How'd you balance that? That had to be interesting.
Yeah, it was cool because like when you're in college, you're going to school, but you have this burden in the back of your head of competition and training and living your life, in preparation for the big moment in March. So, like, it's hard to really lock in to college. At least it was for me because I so much was focused on winning NCAAs. Um, but in grad school, like, you care about coaching and there's different challenges and ways to be competitive, but it's just different. So you can actually I found kind of unplug more in the classroom and actually focus
Mhm.
versus like being kind of pulled out into like, oh my gosh, do my legs feel good enough to practice today? Is my
Mhm.
ankle like fully healed before I got to wrestle this guy who's like not totally a scrub, but like I probably should beat him on Friday? So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it was nice to like feel like I was having a true like school experience in
Hmm.
grad school.
Yeah. How did it work when you were okay? So it just dawned on me like, okay, you're hurt. You're banged up a little bit. Your ankle's hurt. Are you walking to class during this time? Or like how are you getting to class when you're banged up like that?
Yeah, I think you get like a walking boot or if you wanted to be like really extreme, you do crutches. Some people just wouldn't go to class and would assume
Hmm.
that, hey, it'll be online and Blackboard or whatever, and like I'm a smart guy and I can just read the PowerPoint and like it is what
Right.
it is. But yeah, you gotta just that's where the priorities really test you, right? Like, what are
Yeah.
you there to do? And it gets murky when you're full scholarship or NIL funded athlete, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Because, 10 years ago when kind of you were coming through, I mean, online wasn't really online like it is now, like they might put the PowerPoints online or something for you to look through, but it's not the same. So, um,
Totally.
yeah. So just imagine you huffing across campus in a walking boot
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
middle of winter in Illinois.
Super fun. But there are beaches and water, so it's just like California
Really, where are the beaches at?
on Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
So they're not that big, but they're there. There is
Yeah.
sand.
That's funny. I mean, were you used what are Pennsylvania? So like I'm from the Midwest, but like
Okay.
what are the winters like in Pennsylvania? I mean, was it
Very
like that big of a
similar.
shock? Okay.
Yeah, like I mean it's quite cold. Like yeah, it's the big like there is a slight difference. Like there is I always just because people always are like, oh, Chicago, super cold, Midwest, super
Hmm.
cold, which obviously I agree with. I think in Chicago, there's probably 15 to 20 days out of every winter where you're like, oh my gosh, this is really bad.
Yeah.
And you don't have as many of those days in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So, like, you'll get a lot of 20 to 28-degree days in Chicago. But if you have like
Mhm.
the right equipment, and you just remember your gloves, like, you're fine. But
Mhm.
it's those wind chill days when you have to, go to class or you're waiting for the bus that's delayed, like you really feel it. And that's what I think gives it the reputation.
Yeah. Did you have some guys on the team that was like almost a culture shock too, like that cold?
Yeah, there is one guy from San Francisco, Jason Welch,
Yeah.
who like they definitely didn't have cold like that out in San Francisco. So I think it was definitely an adjustment for him and his rainbow flip-flops.
Yeah. Um, so you said you're from Pennsylvania. Where at in Pennsylvania are you from?
So I grew up on the eastern part of the state in the Lehigh
Okay.
Valley, so close to Lehigh University, in District 11, which is one of the hotbeds of Pennsylvania wrestling history.
Yeah.
Programs
And
like
how?
Bethlehem Catholic, Easton, Nazareth,
Oh,
Northampton.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. And I want to ask you actually before we get into like some wrestling stuff, your grandfather, I found out, um, John McMullan Sr. was a football player and he was drafted.
yeah.
Did you like know about that or talk to him about that as you were kind of growing up?
So he actually passed away before I was
Oh,
born, so I never got to
okay.
meet him, but have certainly seen that. And I think there's a book about like some of the early New York Titans, New York
Hmm.
Giants teams, and I think he like got into like an aggressive shouting match with Vince Lombardi at some point when Vince Lombardi was like an assistant,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny. So
Yeah.
that's the extent to which I know of his know of him, but I know that he
Yeah.
played in the NFL, which is obviously pretty cool and was at Notre Dame
Yeah.
before that.
Yeah. And so like your dad is John McMullen Jr. Um,
I think
is
he's the
there
third.
he's the third? Is there a John McMullen the fourth? No,
No.
okay. I
No.
was wondering, like, did you ask him about that? Like why he decided to that was
So
enough
he
was
took a
enough?
different strategy as opposed
Yeah.
to naming somebody John. He just gave all the
Hmm.
boys the middle name John.
Oh, really? So how many are there?
Six boys, two girls.
And you all have the middle name
So
John?
there's six John the Fourths, theoretically. Yeah.
Okay. Hey,
Yeah, a little different.
yeah, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
What about like your first names? Is it all M related or are you kind of all over the spectrum?
All over the spectrum.
Okay.
A lot of Judeo-Christian names.
Okay.
Patrick, Joseph,
Hmm.
Thomas,
Daniel? Yeah.
Anthony. Yeah, so kind of all over the place.
Yeah. And where do you fall? So there's eight of you all together. Where do you
Hmm.
fall in the eight rank?
So I'm the third oldest,
Third oldest. Okay.
three of eight,
Three of eight. And did like
upper half.
yeah, did everyone kind of wrestle before you, or like how did wrestling become a McMullan thing?
Yeah, so culturally where we grew up, it was huge.
Yeah.
And my dad didn't wrestle and growing up, and just a lot of people did in our area. So we tried it at our elementary school and also joined a club in the area, which happened to be like one of the preeminent clubs of that time, Red Hawk Wrestling
Hmm.
Club. Um, and my older brother, myself, my two younger brothers got into it
Hmm.
and just kind of went through the youth wrestling experience and doing it in like a very intense area just helps you get to like a certain level in terms of caliber, competition, like all that good stuff. And
Yeah.
like we had no control over that. It just happened to be like a very competitive top tier area that we lived in, which is
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
Yeah. Did like your parents know or like that this it
Nope.
was
It
like that?
just
No, they
like
just
it just happened to be, which is
yeah.
like that's one of some of the crazy parts of life. Like, you never know.
Right.
And we had no idea that we happened to live in like the hotbed of wrestling, like in the social media, pre-YouTube, pre-Flow Wrestling like
Yeah.
age, which is wild.
Yeah. And so like did your parents know much about wrestling or were they kind of learning almost along with you as you guys were growing up?
Yeah, learning along with us. Again, like just total chance.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Like our club was very, very good. We have produced so many NCAA Division One wrestlers, All-Americans, national champs.
Hmm.
Like my drilling partner was Kellen Russell, who wrestled at Michigan and is now at Cornell. He's a couple years older than me, but I was a big kid, and we were drilling partners for like three years or something like that at my club. So it's like,
Yeah.
and we had so many other great kids that went through it,
Mhm.
and it was just like totally random.
Yeah, and to be honest, it seems like almost it was totally random you guys wrestled. Like it wasn't something that you guys had a history of in your family. So like why even put you in wrestling? Like did your brothers come home and be like, "Hey, I want to try this out." Like where did that even start?
I think it was just like alternatives to basketball, because I don't think any of us were really good at basketball or gravitated to it. And
Yeah.
this was like an option. And yeah, people just, again, like I can't undersell like the culture of the area. Like people were
Yeah.
just so into it. And like the newspaper covered it. They televised high school matches on Wednesdays. Gyms got packed to watch these matches. Um, like it was just such a big part of the culture that it just felt like this is obviously like the other sport that you would do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
So
crazy.
so then did you ever play football then, or did like any of your siblings play
Oh
football?
yeah. So I
Okay.
did I was a three sport athlete my
Wow,
entire
okay.
life until
Nice.
college. So football in the fall, wrestling in the winter. And then I did track and field when I was really young. I
Yeah.
got burnt out and then started playing lacrosse
Oh,
in eighth grade.
nice. Yeah.
So
How was that?
I did three different sports until college.
How was lacrosse? Like we don't, that's not something we have in the Midwest, really. Like,
Yeah. Well, Air Force has a pretty good program
yeah,
actually.
yep, yep. I haven't gotten to
And
a
I
game
think
yet, but
Illinois is getting better last time I
okay.
checked. But it's great. It's a great sport. It's big in Maryland, upstate New York, um, Philadelphia suburbs, and it
Hmm.
sort of made its way up to our part of Pennsylvania when I was in
Yeah.
middle school. And it's like so cool. It's like hockey and soccer combined.
Yeah.
Um, physical. It's just it's a great sport. And it
Hmm.
was just a lot of fun to like just learn something new at that phase in your life because so much of
Yeah.
what you learn is like early and you just like you know it and then you just carry on, but like to have to learn something when you're already like gotten really good at other stuff was just like a
Hmm.
cool thing to go through. And then my younger brother Pat was also learning at the same time. He's a year younger than
Nice.
me, so we were
Yeah.
like both learning, practicing with each other, getting good fast. Um, and it was just like a lot of fun. He ended up playing really high level Division III at RIT.
Really
And my youngest brother plays D1 right now at UPenn.
nice, nice. I feel like I talked to Ryan Deacon about lacrosse because I don't know if he played it or if he was getting into it, but he said lacrosse is pretty awesome too.
Hmm.
So that's kind of funny. But
Yeah.
so would you say that you were pretty good at wrestling from the start, or did it take you a while since the room you were in to sort of get so start to gain some success? I mean,
Yeah. That's a great question. It definitely took a little while. Um, I was probably like 8. So I think I started when I was 5 or 6.
hmm
When I was 8, I won the youth New Jersey state championship.
Right.
So
Okay.
I was good, in that context. So, like I was like, oh, I'm winning. Like this is good.
hmm
Um, and from there on out, like a lot of the stuff I entered, I would win or get second. And like it was like, oh, I expect to do really well in this sport. And that was that way for a while. When I got into like middle school, early high school, um, I was like high caliber, but I wasn't like unanimous. Oh, this guy's like,
hmm
the next big thing. He's gonna mow through high school and be a 4-time undefeated champ. Like I was definitely not that. Like I was like placing at good tournaments and like having
hmm
close matches with good juniors and seniors. But it wasn't until like my junior and senior year in high school where I really like elevated into number one in the country in my weight class. Like high recruit, all that kind of stuff. It took me a little bit
Yeah.
while to like get to that point.
Yeah. Were you? I want to be careful how I ask this because I don't want to offend you. Were you a bigger kid or were you just a little bit like, were you tall? Were you taller? Because you seem like a pretty lean person, and even when you were competing in college, you weren't like a overly, you know, huge heavyweight. You were just
Mhm.
the way you were built. So I'm just curious, like, was
Yeah.
that just the case when you were growing up? You were just like tall and lean and just that's where the weight came from?
Yeah, I was never like a chubby kid, but I
Right,
was
right.
just like yeah, like just bigger. Um yeah, I was just bigger and I'm kind of
Mhm.
just dense. Like I'm heavier than I look on the
Yeah.
scale, which is kind of so like I was wrestling in bigger weight classes through all that combination of factors. But like when I was in 8th grade, I wrestled 160. And then my freshman year, I weighed like 180. So I was bigger, but I wasn't like always a heavyweight.
hmm Gotcha. Yeah, I just that's one thing that really when I think about Mike McMullan wrestling, specifically in college, like you were for me the first one that I was like watching going, now that's a different heavyweight. Now he
Thanks.
wrestles
Thank
a
you.
different, he wrestles a different kind of style than what we're used to than the Cole Conrad, Tony Nelson, like Zach
Yeah.
Ray style of heavyweight. No offense to them, but it was just different. And then all of a sudden Mike McMullen comes along and we're like, whoa, like there's some athleticism here that made it kind of more a little fun to watch. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it
Uh,
was different for me too. Like, I just thought that was how people wrestled, and it was for most of my life. And then my
mhm.
junior year, I was putting on size for football, and I was big enough to wrestle heavyweight, and that's what I did for the team.
Yeah.
And I just did what I had done at other weight classes,
Mhm.
and it was working. So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is cool. I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep doing this.
Were your parents athletes? We talked about your grandfather being, playing in the NFL. Like, was your dad and mom, were they athletes as themselves or?
Yeah, so my dad played football growing up, and I think like one or two other sports.
Uh-huh.
And then my mom was a runner and a dancer. So she was like very into the ballet and like a
Yeah.
very high level ballerina. So yeah, that's a dangerous combination.
Yeah. Yeah. So was she upset when you got burnt out from track and field? She was like, "Oh man, I got a runner in the family and now he doesn't want to run anymore."
Uh, I think they got it. Like we did it very intensely one year. Like meets every weekend. Um,
Really?
went to like qualifying events for Junior Olympics and like went to the Junior Olympics, which is just like USA, youth nationals.
Yeah.
There's AAU Junior Olympics and then there's USA Track and Field Nationals. At least that's what it was back then. So we
Hmm.
like did the circuits to qualify for all of those events and like our club that we were associated with had a bunch of people as well who did that. So we did it like very seriously
Yeah.
and like you're going to practice too and our club was like an hour from our house. So we were going, it was just
Really?
like we are just all exhausted. We're like,
Yeah.
that's a lot. So we all got burnt out, I think.
Yeah. What were you running?
I ran three events. I did the 4x400 relay.
Okay, cool.
I was the second leg. I did the 800 meters and I did the 1500 meters.
Oh,
So the metric mile.
dang, that's a grind.
Yeah.
Especially, for your age. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It was exhausting.
Yeah.
Um, but it was cool. I learned a lot and
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah. So when did you start feeling like you were actually starting to become good at wrestling? When you're surrounded by all those people and they're having maybe more success, quote unquote, more success than you, like you may not realize that you're actually having some good success and that you're pretty good too when you kind of compare it to peers that are maybe a slight notch above you. You know what I'm saying?
hmm Yeah. So I think for me, my training situation growing up, because I was a little bigger, I wrestled guys who were 2 to 3 years older than me in practice.
Yeah.
And I would be pushed and I wasn't always winning. And I was always obviously striving to be more competitive. But
Hmm.
then I would like wrestle in my age group and weight class and like do really well. So I was like, oh, well, like for where I am, I'm actually fine. But I'm
Yeah.
going to keep pushing myself with these other people because like I know there's levels that I will get tested at eventually. Um, so I think like freshman and sophomore year, having a couple wins against guys who were ranked nationally. My sophomore year, I placed at the Beast of the East tournament
Hmm.
at 189, and that was like a huge moment for me, being like, oh wow, like I can place at this really quality tournament.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like maybe I can win it, like that, those like little moments of accomplishment, I think help you build that confidence over time. And then my junior year, I won the national prep tournament and beat like somebody ranked top five in the country in the finals.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Well, I'm like a top five nationally caliber wrestler. Like, what's to say I can't be like the best wrestler next year? So it was just very
Hmm.
like methodical as the tests came up. I like kept trying to, ace them. And
Yeah.
I got good at doing that more and more over time. And it all kind of came together my senior year of high school.
Yeah. And did everyone like did your family funnel into Blair Academy, or how did you end up going to Blair Academy?
So I actually did not go to Blair. I went to
Wyoming
I thought
Seminary. Oh my gosh, don't crucify me for that. Yeah,
I will
how did you end
not.
up at Wyoming Seminary?
So we thought about going to Blair. We actually a lot of people would practice at Blair growing up
Hmm.
um, because everybody wanted to go there because it was so good.
Right.
And we had some relationships from our club at Wyoming Seminary. There was a guy named John Gordon who was the dean of the school, which is like the principal.
Yeah.
And his son Nicky was a freshman, and there was like one or two other guys on the team who were good and also went to our club. But most of the team was people who seasonally wrestled or like started wrestling in high school and just like not, nationally competitive. And he was
Hmm.
like, "Hey, I'm the dean of this school. I want to build a wrestling program. We can recruit kids. We're a boarding school. I know you guys want to go to Blair, but like, why don't you come here instead and we can build something and maybe compete
Wow.
with Blair someday."
Hmm.
So we made that decision as a family, and then a couple other people as well went to SEM, and we were part of the building group that got it to where it is today, which is like pretty
Wow.
cool now
Yeah.
to reflect back on like
Yeah.
20 years ago, which is crazy.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, they took a chance on you, you took a chance on them, and
Hmm.
Did you want to go to Blair? Like, you know,
I I didn't like have a hard opinion on it. Like I
yeah,
think we watched them growing up and we're like, oh, they
yeah,
were the best. And all
yeah,
their kids went to, Ivy League schools or great wrestling programs. So you're like, oh, well, if
mhm,
I go there and I start, I must be really good and then I'll get to go somewhere great. So
yeah,
you kind of think you probably want to go there, but like I wasn't like, I need to go to Blair Academy because we
yeah,
had a lot of great public schools by us at the time that were like ranked nationally in the top 10,
yeah,
like Easton and Nazareth and Northampton.
yeah. Right. So you kind of were able to pick which pick whichever one you wanted to
Yeah,
go
like
to.
we lived in Easton School District, so I would have went there and they were like
Yeah.
they had won 4 Pennsylvania state championships in a row. They had guys who were multiple time state champs, guys who would beat guys from like they would duel Blair,
Hmm.
So like I got to watch all that. So I wasn't like if I don't go to Blair, I'm never gonna wrestle in a good situation.
Right. Right. Um, you were also pretty good student. Was that something that came a little easier to you, or did you really have to like, you know, put effort and work into your studies to get them to where you wanted them to be?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. Like
Yeah.
school came more natural to me,
Hmm.
but it gets more complicated over time and you have to put that effort in. But early on, like, yeah, if things just felt a little bit easier.
Hmm.
But eventually you get tested and you got to put in the work and you got to study and you got to do the problems and uh, keep elevating your game. So
Yeah. One thing I did read was you made the dean's list, okay? Your sophomore and senior year, but not your freshman and junior year. So like,
of high school,
I think so. Was that
yeah.
high school? Yeah.
Huh. Huh.
So why didn't what happened your freshman and junior year? You just like not
I would have
apply?
thought I made it freshman, junior, senior year. So maybe that's sophomore year was not my best year. I was
Yeah.
going through a lot. I got injured at one of the holiday wrestling tournaments,
Hmm.
had to get shoulder surgery. And mentally it was just really down. So
Yeah.
it was hard to focus that year. Um, so that was the one year academically that was the most challenging of my life. But I would have
Yeah.
expected the other years to be Dean's List. So I don't know what
Yeah.
happened there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to
Well,
go ask the registrar or something.
either way, it didn't really hinder um, your options as you got closer to college. But before we get there, you um, aside from that sophomore year, did that injury sort of help you, or how do I want to say this? Like, because you were hurt and that can be mentally draining, and it sounds like it was, did that help you kind of mature a little bit and gain an extra gear as you got older that you dealt with something like that?
That's a great question. Yeah, it helped me in a lot of ways. I didn't play lacrosse that year, so I played a lot of wall ball with my left hand.
Hmm.
So I got good at my left hand, which in lacrosse, it's important to be able to go both ways. So
Hmm.
that was really beneficial for my lacrosse game. I also put on a lot of size, intentionally and unintentionally,
Yeah.
um, which helped me bulk up for football and ultimately heavyweight, which ultimately led to me getting recruited. Um, so yeah, I think a lot of like good unintended things came from it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, when it sounds like you were pretty solid at three sports. Um, how much were you thinking about maybe playing a different sport in college? Like, was football an option? Was lacrosse an option?
Yeah, so I actually originally was planning to play football in college.
Really?
I didn't love wrestling. I mean, it's so hard and a lot of people don't like it. Like it's
Yeah.
grueling and it sucks and it's like seasonal depression and I like, it's like why would I do this if I could go play the fun sport? And I got recruited for a lot of football, mainly Division 1 AA.
Hmm.
A lot of Ivies, which to me was really something important to me, balancing academics and athletics. I got an opportunity to have a spot on the Harvard team, Um, and I verbally accepted that. So I was intending to go to Harvard to play football um, before my senior year of high school. And I just thought about it and it just didn't sit right with me. I felt like I only wanted to go there because of the institution, and I didn't really feel that chemistry with the team. Um, I didn't really see myself there. I just thought like I should do this because it's like an amazing opportunity. And I had to have like a really honest conversation with myself around like, hey, I know I don't love wrestling and wrestling is tougher and it's the harder path, but I think I could be pretty good if I actually did that. So let me see what my options are. And if any of them are compelling, like maybe I just do the hard thing instead and go that route. So I had my coach reach out to a small group of schools that I wasn't getting recruited to for football that I thought would be interesting. Northwestern, Michigan, and Stanford. And Northwestern was the first one to respond and wanted me to visit immediately. And I really enjoyed my time out there and liked the guys and stuff. And thought it was a really cool, different experience. I'd never been to the Midwest. I'd never been outside of the Eastern time zone. So, yeah, I thought it was like a really good situation. And it turns out it was a great decision. So I'm happy I did
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I applaud your self-awareness at that age to look at an institution like Harvard and realize that maybe you're going there because of the name that it's Harvard. And like, how do you turn down an opportunity like Harvard, as an institution? But to sort of do a little more deeper searching for yourself and going, football doesn't really fit, am I going just because it's Harvard? Like that's I guess I'm just speaking for myself as an 18-year-old. Like I would have been like, okay, yeah, I'm going to Harvard, like done deal because of the name and not necessarily how the other factors played.
Hmm. Totally. And that was initially how I reacted, but then it just
Mhm.
sat with me and I mean, it was tough, but then I think I talked to my mom about it and she was kind of relieved because she was like, look, I kind of felt that and I didn't obviously want to say anything because why would I say it? Like I'd be a terrible mom if I told you not to do that. But
Right.
like it's okay that you feel that way. And yeah, if you want to explore, like we support you. So that was
That's
really cool.
awesome.
And that helped me kind of get the nudge I needed.
Yeah, for sure. Almost that's also validating, like I feel this way. And then a parent's like, hey, that's okay to feel that way. And you're like, oh, good, okay. I can trust
Hmm.
myself, I can trust my
Hmm.
feelings. So um, gosh, so you weren't even being recruited by Northwestern. You reached out to them or your coach reached out to them.
Yeah. So I always, and then I coached for a couple of years, so I saw the recruiting from the inside. And I always tell people, like, even if you think you're really good, like, and you feel like you know where you want to go, like, don't just wait for the call. Like, send a note, reach out, demonstrate interest, and you can take things in your own hands and get the
That,
outcome that you want.
yeah, that's a very good point because like that doesn't mean that they weren't looking at you or they didn't want you. It's maybe they have so many other things going on that
Yeah,
they
or they were
didn't
like,
see a
hey,
Mike McMullan.
yeah, like, hey, that kid, yeah, he's good, but we already committed to Harvard to play football, so like, we're not going to reach out to
Right.
him.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
um, so you went on a visit there, and
Mhm.
did you visit like Michigan and Stanford too, then the other two places you reached out to?
Michigan already had somebody at heavyweight, so they were good. And then Stanford wanted me to visit, but my visit kept getting delayed. I think they were maybe trying to set it up with like a bigger recruiting weekend. I don't know, but
Yeah,
um, I was an impatient 17-year-old and,
of
was
course.
like, hey, this was pretty good and I'm just not going to complicate things and I'm going to do this.
Yeah. Gosh, that's 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 pretty a remarkable thing when you look back on it, like how different your life is now. It's kind of fun to kind
Yeah,
of
I
look
think
back
about
on those
it
things.
a
Like,
lot. Like what would have happened if I took that visit? What would have happened if I didn't have the courage to like renege on my commitment? Like these are things I think about all the time, but I'm very happy
yeah,
with the decisions I've made and it's been great.
yeah, for sure. And so Did that feel like a weight off your shoulder too? Once you found, like, all right, I'm going to Northwestern. Whew, I'm free. I can
Oh
just,
yeah.
it's not like,
Oh yeah, like October of my senior year of high school.
yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Nowhere I'm going to college. Like
Yeah.
awesome.
And at that time was Northwestern. I mean, I feel like they got pretty good as you were there, but before that, were they, mid-tier, lower tier Big Ten at that point? Like, why did you make the decision to go wrestle there when they were, when you may have had better wrestling options on the table, if that makes sense?
It's the mix of everything, like the whole
Hmm.
package. So I think it's the best product available in Division One when you take into account everything.
Hmm.
Um, you can wrestle in the Big Ten. You're at a top 10, top 15 academic institution. You're in the greater Chicagoland area with tons of internships and full-time employment opportunities. Um, you're centrally located with great high schools around that love to support and watch great wrestling. Um, so like it was a great, it kind of checked all my boxes.
Yeah.
And they've always been, if you look back in history, um, they're like a top 20, top 25 team historically in terms of
Hmm.
like national qualifiers, All-Americans. They have a great history,
Yeah.
and they had a very good year in 2007 where they got a team trophy. And I think Jake Herbert won the Hodge Trophy in 2009. So they had had a handful of guys who, Dustin
Yeah.
Fox won NCAAs in 2008. So like they had a bunch of guys who had done pretty
I
well while I was
forgot
in high
about Dustin
school.
Fox.
Yeah.
Dang.
So I was like, oh, that's a great school. And like they're putting guys in the NCAA finals and they're winning.
Hmm.
Great. Like, yeah, I can win there. Uh,
Yeah.
and then we had just a lot of good guys in the room throughout my time. And even after I graduated, like, with Deacon and Rivera and Lucas Davison and all those guys, like they had a good team too. So it's a place where you can really win. I call it winning twice. Like you're gonna win on, you can win on the mat and you can win kind of post grad with all of the opportunities you'll get and the foundation you have with the degree. And that's why I went there.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember talking to Deacon about it. Like, I mean, the squad was good. I mean, like from top to bottom, like they were solid pretty much at every weight when Deacon was there, with like
Mhm.
Sebastian or Johnny Sebastian, Trevor Chumbly wasn't there, but he, got fourth a couple years ago. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, they've been quietly, you don't hear, the praise about them, but they've always been pretty solid. Like I said, like right in the middle of the Big Ten, which is always tough. But if you're right there, I mean, that's pretty successful for a program that's as difficult to get in as Northwestern.
Hmm. Totally. Yeah. If you're middle of the Big Ten, you're usually top in the country. So
Yeah, yeah. Um, was it coming in as a heavyweight? Was it a hard or a difficult transition going from high school to college at that at heavyweight?
yeah, I mean, you have to hand fight a lot, which people don't really do in high school. So you got to learn that. And heavyweight in particular, like everyone's hand fighting. The size is more of a issue in college. Like guys are big and they're pretty athletic, so you got to have the strength to be able to, wrestle competitively. You got to be able to, yeah, work out of hand fight and overhooks and underhooks and all that kind of stuff. Um, and then size wise, like you got to put on size. It's got to be good size, and you got to be able to hold it throughout the duration of the
Yeah.
season, which is a challenge. So
Mhm.
it was definitely an adjustment, and it required like full buy-in and year-round commitment, which obviously you do in D1, and um, I just had to lean into.
Yeah, was that how long did it take you to adjust to that to those things you just listed, as you got into college? Did it take your whole redshirt year? Did it take even a couple years to finally feel comfortable at that
Yeah,
weight?
it probably took me like my first 2 years to like
Yeah.
I was still adjusting, and then my third year I felt pretty good.
Yeah. Did you find it difficult to keep on mass? You know, like weight, was that
Yeah.
difficult for you?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, you're losing 8 to 10 pounds of practice, and then you have to eat 6,000 calories and do it all over again every single
Gee.
day for 5 years. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
it's very hard.
yeah,
It's not as hard as losing 8 to 10 pounds every week,
yeah,
but it's a different sort of challenge and definitely exhausting.
yeah. I mean, for you specifically, just because of your body composition, did that make it like even a little more difficult to keep it on? Because like I'm thinking, you said Michigan had a heavyweight, Adam, was Adam Kuhn. Like he probably had a little bit easier time keeping weight on, than maybe somebody like you who just body composition seems a little leaner in general, you know. So did you find yourself having those frustrations throughout the
Totally.
year,
Yeah. I
like trying
mean,
to keep weight on, and you're like, what the, what
yeah,
am
I'm
I
just
doing?
naturally not that big. So,
Right.
it was more of a challenge and unnatural, which, makes it more difficult.
What was your diet like?
I would eat like 4 eggs every morning, 2 hash browns, 4 pieces of bacon. And then I'd have like, mid-morning protein bar, shake, whatever. Lunch, I'd have like a big sandwich with um, like chips and stuff. Another protein thing, kind of mid-afternoon before practice, and then dinner, meat with a potato and a vegetable, and then like later in the day, like Nutella slices with milk
Just on repeat.
over and over and over again.
You're probably never eating some of that stuff again. You're like, no, I don't ever want to touch Nutella again because I ate it so much in college.
Yeah, like I've eaten boxes and boxes of Velveeta and all that good stuff.
Oh man. Um, so in college, I wrote a paper. It was called the 5,000 calorie diet because I interviewed a few of the Nebraska wrestlers, heavier
Hmm.
guys, and I kind of asked them these questions, like, what was your diet like? How did you keep weight on? Like, um, and I asked them what their emergency meal was. So if they just were like out and they were like, hey, a buddy calls them and they're like, hey, will you come help me move? They go and help them move, and all of a sudden they lost like 5 pounds, and they're like, oh my gosh, I need to put that weight back on now. Like, did you have a meal per se that like when you needed calories now that you went and either got or made
I think for me it was I would make like ribeye with Velveeta.
with Velveeta?
Yeah, like a ribeye. I'd have a ribeye steak with like a box of Velveeta.
What do you mean? You just would melt the cheese and just eat the cheese or what?
Oh no, like the what's it called?
Oh, like the
Like the
shells?
macaroni and stuff.
Okay,
Yeah, like I would
okay.
make it and then I'd have like the ribeye steak as well.
Nice. Okay. Oh, that's not too bad. That sounds pretty good actually.
Yeah. So,
Why? I'm just also curious why Velveeta? Just
I mean, have you had it? It's phenomenal.
yeah, yeah, yeah. My wife is more of a Kraft mac and cheese girl, though. The
Yeah,
three
that's
cheese
fair.
mac and cheese, yeah. But um, so your freshman year, though, you said it took you a couple years to adjust. You still had some pretty good success as a redshirt freshman. I mean, how did you handle? How did, if, as you were still adjusting, how were you still having success?
Yeah, I had a mixed year. Like I had ups and downs throughout the season, but
Yeah,
I had a really good NCAA tournament.
yeah.
So I finished third my freshman year. But, I had a lot of losses that year and learned a
Hmm.
lot. So it kind of took me a while to build that confidence and get to that point.
Yeah,
So you see the result and you're like, oh, this is great. But there's so much behind that. And yeah, just ending in that way gave me the confidence that I was close in terms of achieving my goal, of winning NCAAs.
yeah. Throughout those up and downs, I mean, were there moments? I mean, when at the end of the day, when you got third, I mean, were you shocked yourself a little bit?
Kinda,
Because
yeah. I mean, I was seated 10th, I think. So I wasn't supposed to be on the podium, and then all of a sudden I got third. So it was definitely like I wanted to get on the podium. I didn't
Hmm.
know I would get third.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now back to the academic question again, real quick. Was academics, because now you're at Northwestern, a top, you said, 10, 15 institution in the country.
hmm
Um, were academics easier? Would like not easier than high school, but like were you having issues with that, or were you still thriving academically?
Uh, it was definitely an adjustment. I think like college is just different from high school,
Yeah.
and like the teaching is different, the assignments are different. So you have to just adjust a lot. So similar to like adjusting and being competitive with the wrestling, it took me a couple years to similar timeline actually to adjust and
Mhm.
get good at sports or at school again. So
Yeah.
yeah, it took me a little bit of an adjustment period, but I figured it out eventually.
Yeah. Did it, as you got deeper into your because you were a poli sci major, as you got deeper
Mhm.
into your major, did it become maybe even a little more difficult to juggle that? Like did the classes start to get a little more strenuous, and you had more projects and things like that that sort of made it a little harder to balance at times?
I actually think the deeper you get into your degree program, the easier it gets
Hmm.
because you're getting more specific in terms of topics. It's more narrow,
Hmm.
smaller classes typically, better office hours than like I feel like it, yeah, and you've also gotten more foundation underneath you in terms of
Yeah.
like entry level learning. So, and just the experience, right, of like going through a college class. So I actually found it got easier the deeper I got.
Yeah.
And it was just harder in the beginning because you're in this massive lecture hall with 200 people and nobody knows if you're there or not. Nobody like cares. It's
Yeah.
very much on you to make it a successful experience. And, um, a lot of people think they can brute force their way to like a great outcome, but you have to have like a lot of courage to be like, I didn't really understand that class. And like, I should probably go talk to the TA or something like that.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it takes you a little bit of adjusting and a couple, tough midterms or whatever to like finally realize, oh yeah, I probably should lean into like utilizing my resources.
Yeah. 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 I remember being 18 and being like just you're just intimidated by that size, and going
hmm
up to a professor, not your high school teacher's one thing, you probably known
Yep.
them for a while, but a professor, I don't know, you're just like, whoa. So, now, after you got third your freshman year, I mean, is that when you really like, did the belief really start to happen then too, that like, well, I am good enough to win an NCAA title? Like you said before that you were wanting to get on the podium,
hmm
but like now you're third place. Like, did you start to have that sense of belief that like I can win a national title?
Totally. Yeah. I was 2 spots away and I felt like I wasn't my best that year. So everything's firing on all cylinders and I have the size and I have the conditioning and I have the consistency and I can improve my hand fighting. Why can't I do better next year? So that is really, yeah, what clicked for me. And I sort of carried that focus throughout the rest of my college career.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that result was like very important.
Yeah. As you go through a season at heavyweight, is it sort of, how do I say this? Um, Matchup to matchup, like because of the person that you might be wrestling, their style, their weight. I mean, I feel like at heavyweight, you kind of almost have to see who you're wrestling and adjust accordingly, or do you just go out there and wrestle how you're going to wrestle and don't worry about what they weigh or what they look like? I mean, one match um, you could be wrestling Adam Kuhn, and then the next you could be wrestling someone who's a lot smaller.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like a puzzle. It's different from, which I think a lot of wrestling is, but heavyweight, it's even more um, on display because so many different body types that you have to encounter where like certain things are not going to work for certain opponents.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, you kind of have to like, okay, if I'm wrestling Kun, a lot of stuff is not going to work. And
Hmm.
I know the things that probably will. I need to be really calculated in how I execute them. And I have a couple um, shots at this, and I need to just like nail them, or else it's going to be a lot harder. Versus if I'm wrestling another guy who weighs 230, I'm like, great, this is easy. I can out
Hmm.
wrestle somebody my size like any day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Hmm.
And I can do a lot more when somebody's the same size as me. But when they're bigger, you just have to adjust. And Kuhn's like big and tall, so that's a different calculus than like big and short.
Hmm.
Like there's
Hmm.
just it's very you have to tailor the approach to every opponent.
Yeah. Was that difficult at times? Like you basically had to scheme almost every match,
Well, yeah, you're
in a
like
way.
you're kind of scheming before, and then you try something that you think is going to work and it doesn't, and then you're like, oh, was my scheme totally wrong? Like, did I underestimate this aspect of my opponent? And now I'm trying to solve real time. Okay, like maybe I got to do this instead. And I mean, you do that in every weight class, but
Yeah.
in heavyweight, they're tougher puzzles because it's just like more variables.
I feel like in-match adjustments would be huge when you're wrestling heavyweight. I mean, they're big in general, but like you think something might work on them and then it doesn't,
Mhm.
and you're like, okay, now I need to like shift my whole game plan based on that.
Totally. Yeah. Again, I think it's just like so many different variables that are going
Yeah.
into that match versus like just by default. So
Yeah.
the adjustments are definitely going to be much higher.
Yeah. As we wrap up here real quick, 'cause I know you got to go and I appreciate the time that we've had, but as you look over your career, four-time Big Ten placer, four-time All-American, you never did get that national title, but are you still able to look back over your career and think of it fondly that like, you put in like all the effort, you're one of just a handful of four-time All-Americans in Northwestern history. Like you had a pretty dang good career, even though maybe you didn't quite get the pinnacle that you were chasing.
Oh yeah, I feel great.
Yeah.
Like I'm very proud of what I did. I know how much commitment it took to get the results I got. I have no like yeah, I have nothing I look back on and feel frustrated about because I know I did everything I could. So, and the more time that passes from my final match, like my appreciation gets deeper and deeper for like what I accomplished. And yeah, I'm in a really healthy spot with it. I always tell myself like, you know, I've gotten really close every year and 10 people win every year. But for the people who get close to like have the quality of finishes that I have, like not that many people have that. So it's
Yeah.
like, unique in its own way. And I can I can appreciate that and just find comfort in knowing that, yeah, I didn't ultimately get it, but I've beaten guys who've won it and I was that caliber, you know?
Right. Yeah. Um, Not only did have people like had successful careers, but when you look at heavyweight, I don't like there's not many heavyweights that have had as successful of a career as you did in terms of finishes at the NCAA tournament. I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean, I think Kuhn didn't place his freshman year, but I think he made the finals twice and he got third. So like he was pretty good too, but
mhm.
I have to go deeper in history. But
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
I think you're right. Like there's been a lot of good heavyweights over the years.
Yeah, but not many of them have been four-time All-Americans, you know?
I'll take that. See, that
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
me feel better.
Yeah. Lastly, for you here, you were actually on the call with Shane Sparks this past year.
Hmm.
How was that? And how did you even get in? Get into that. How'd you get that phone call?
Yeah, so I met Shane when I was competing. He was working for the Big Ten Network.
Yeah.
Um, but also I met him in high school at a tournament in Wisconsin that he was covering.
Yeah.
And I just kept in touch with him over the years, going to Northwestern and doing stuff in the journalism school. Um, that was always something that was interesting to me. And I told him like, hey, if there's ever a need for a former athlete to be involved, like I would love to. So just
Mhm.
keep me in mind. And then about a year or two ago, he reached out and asked if I wanted to help out with sort of a smaller production that he was doing. And
Mhm.
that was my first foray into the world of broadcasting. And I probably did some things all right and had a lot to work on. And it was just like a fun new way to experience something very familiar. And I had a bunch of other opportunities with him as well, leading up to this season where I did a couple calls on the Big Ten and then NCAs with him. And it was just really cool to experience NCAs in that way.
Yeah.
Um, it's a tournament I've been to a lot in many different capacities, and that was a new one. So it was really enjoyable watching the tournament in that way and getting to cover it, and so many great matches and upsets and stories, and um, yeah, I had a great time. So see if I get to do it again next year, but had a lot of fun this year.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. Special thanks to my guest, Mike McMullan, for taking the time to sit down and chat with me. Cover art created and designed by Kristen Gill. Please feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe to this podcast. And you can also check me out on YouTube, Instagram, and my Facebook page to hear more of my content. And don't forget to check out my website at letstalkwrestlingpodcast.my.canva.site. And as always, be sure to tune in to hear the next guest of the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. Take care. See you next time.